a new version of an old spyware family taking screenshots of your Apple device.
So Stan, I understand you've got a story about some Mac 0 days that have been exploited.
Yes. So I know we all thought that Apple is the most secure operating system ever. But really, I think what we're learning over time is that it doesn't matter who the manufacturer is of an operating system or of any software product. Bugs are possible anywhere. And so GMF, a security company, has published a blog post about this new malware strain that's abusing, I guess, a flaw in the TCC. I think it's called the Transparency, Consent, and Control Framework. So this is the thing that gives you those pop-ups. Hey, do you give permission for such and such permission for this software? Can it record your screen? Can it record your full disk? Can it have full access to your disk drive? So this malware strain that they've been following, I think since last year, they noticed that it was using a bypass to basically surreptitiously record people's screens. So this malware family that they've been tracking called XCSset is basically the malware family behind it, and it's a spyware program. Now, Windows users have been very familiar with spyware for a long time. But I think what we're learning here is that no operating system is really immune to these, right? You can get it on your Android, you can get it on your Apple device, including iPhones, but you have to be a pretty special target to get malware on your iPhone. It's probably only APT adversaries that are coming to you on your iPhone. But in general, it seems like no operating system is really immune from adversaries attempting exploits. And in fact, the more popular the operating system becomes, the more likely people are to then seek exploits against it. So an interesting example here, very detailed technical article. I know JAMF is a company that they have many solutions for monitoring like Mac devices. So they have probably very good experience with reversing this kind of malware and looking at it. So I definitely recommend people to check out the story on their blog and get all of the details.
Yeah, and it's another case of making sure that you apply the patches as soon as they're available. The patches for this actually just came out yesterday, but this is the second time in I think less than a month or just about a month that we've seen 0 days being exploited against Macs. So as you said at the beginning, if you thought because you were on a Mac you weren't a target, that was never true. But it's especially true that the adversaries have been getting more aggressive about targeting the Macs here, or at least we've noticed it more in recent months. So yeah, that Big Sur update that just came yesterday, make sure you apply it. In fact, they actually released updates for at least the last 3 major releases of Mac OS. So Big Sur, Catalina, and what was the one before that? High Sierra. I've lost track of their names, but yeah. So you never were safe just because you were on a Mac. You may not have been targeted quite as much, but they seem to be targeting the Macs more in recent months, or at least we're more aware of it in recent months.
Well, the famous myth I keep hearing is that Macs can't get viruses. It's what Mac users love to say, but certainly the case as more companies move to MacBooks and more people get to MacBooks. These are going to keep growing. But Stan, did the article go into any depth of how the malware actually got onto the MacBook?
I think it did go into depth on that. I don't think I'll do a fair job explaining it all. I definitely encourage everyone to check it out. There's a beautiful diagram that explains, the apps that get installed. And I think earlier versions of I think the interesting thing about it is that earlier versions of this malware were even somehow spread through modifications of code like on GitHub, according to the article. So lots of different ways that bad guys are attempting to get the spyware distributed. I know in the past there's also been things like development kits that have been I wouldn't say rooted, but modified surreptitiously to enable some kind of functionality that wasn't expected. And that's all probably, to bypass those more stringent checks that, people are expecting from like the Apple store, even though you can install any app on your Mac, I think. So I definitely, I would encourage everyone to read the article for more details. It's well laid out in here, and it's definitely got a nice diagram of exactly how the malware gets on you. You see the different components, it's on your Mac and all the different components of it. One thing I'd like to note, I think, is that adversary, I guess, if you think that you're protected because you're using a specific operating system, then you're probably like more vulnerable or more at risk than any other user, because you might take those extra careless steps that a normal user might be a little bit more careful with. So I know when I'm using my Windows box, I'm much more aware of what I search. I'm much more aware of what I click on. But when I use my Mac, I'm like, oh, I have a Mac. It's okay. It's secure. I can just click here. And I think that probably, the narrative over the past few years for sure has been that, Mac users are less targeted. So it might embolden certain users to make more riskier decisions about the kinds of websites they visit and the kind of software that they download. But I think, again, like the story underscores, don't be fooled by your operating system or the hardware that you're using. That if you are a target, a large enough target, adversaries will come after you.